You've been lied to your whole life. Teachers told you to dream big. Motivational speakers told you to stay positive. Instagram gurus told you to hustle harder. But what if I told you all that advice is making you miserable? What if the secret to a better life isn't giving more effort, more love, or more positivity, but actually learning how to give less of a FCAC? This isn't about being careless, it's about being ruthless with your attention. And once you master this, you'll see the world differently forever. Big idea reveal. Mark Manson's book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a FCAC, is about one brutal truth. Your energy, your time, your FCAC are limited. Spend them on everything and you'll live stressed, anxious, and unfulfilled. Spend them only on what truly matters and you'll finally find freedom. It's not about ignoring life, it's about choosing carefully. And every chapter of this book is a guide on how to choose better. Chapter 1. Don't try. The first chapter begins with a man named Charles Bukowski, a poet, a drunk, a gambler, a man society would call a loser. For decades, he failed. He couldn't keep a job, drank himself half to death, and lived in cheap motels. But eventually, his raw, unapologetic writing made him famous. And when he died, 2 words were carved on his tombstone: don't try. At first, this sounds lazy. Isn't life all about trying harder? Isn't success built on effort? But here's the twist. Bukowski wasn't saying never do anything. He was saying, stop pretending. Stop forcing yourself to chase things that don't matter to you. Stop trying to be someone you're not. The truth about trying, think about it. We live in a culture obsessed with positivity. Be more successful, be happier, be richer, be admired. And the more you chase it, the emptier you feel. Why? Because by constantly trying to be extraordinary, you're admitting to yourself that you're not enough. It's like telling yourself, I need to fix me every single day. Bukowski found success not by trying to be a polished, ideal version of himself, but by embracing his flaws. He wrote about his drinking, his failures, his ugly truths, and that's exactly why people trusted his words. He stopped trying to be something else, and that made him powerful. Here is the lesson. Don't try doesn't mean sit back and do nothing. It means stop giving your energy to fake goals. Stop caring about looking perfect. Stop wasting time on what other people think is success. Instead, lean into your reality, your strengths, your flaws, your truth. That's where real growth begins. And here's the paradox. The less you care about being extraordinary, the more extraordinary you can actually become. But wait, if chasing happiness and success doesn't work, then what does? In fact, Mark Manson says happiness itself is the real problem. And in Chapter 2, you'll discover why the constant pursuit of happiness might be the very thing making you unhappy. Chapter 2, happiness is a problem. We all want to be happy, right? That's the ultimate goal. More money, more friends, more success, all because we think it'll finally make us happy. But here is the brutal truth Mark Manson drops in Chapter 2. Happiness isn't the solution. Happiness is the problem. The happiness trap. Here's why. Imagine you wake up one day feeling stressed. You think, I should be happy. Why am I not happy? That thought itself makes you feel worse. You're now stressed about being stressed, sad about being sad. This is what psychologists call the hedonic treadmill. No matter what you achieve, your brain always moves the goalpost. You make more money. Soon it feels normal and you want more. You finally buy that dream car. A year later, it's just another car. The cycle never ends. Manson says, the pursuit of happiness is like trying to grab water. It slips right through your hands. Because the more you chase it, the more you reinforce the belief that you don't have it. Pain is part of the deal, so what's the alternative? It's this. Happiness comes from solving problems, not avoiding them. Life will never stop throwing challenges your way: money issues, health problems, relationship drama. You can't eliminate problems. The trick is to choose better problems, problems that actually move your life forward. Think of it like going to the gym. If you hate the pain of lifting weights, you'll never grow stronger. But if you embrace that pain as part of the process, you get fitter. The same applies to life. Pain is not the opposite of happiness. Pain is the path to happiness. The question is never, how can I live without problems? The real question is, what problems am I willing to endure? The reframe that changes everything. Here's where it hits hard. Instead of asking, how can I be happy? Ask yourself, what pain do I want in my life? What struggle am I willing to go through? Because that's where meaning is born. A writer struggles with self-doubt, but endures it for the joy of storytelling. A parent sacrifices sleep and freedom, but endures it for the love of their child. The struggle is the point. Without it, happiness means nothing. But wait, if struggle is unavoidable, does that mean everyone's struggle is equal? Not at all. In Chapter 3, Mark Manson pulls no punches. You're not as special as you think you are, and realizing that might be the most liberating truth of all. Chapter 3. You are not special. From the time we were kids, we've been told we're special, that we're unique snowflakes destined for greatness. Schools, parents, and Instagram quotes all push the same idea. You can be anything, you're extraordinary, you're destined to shine. But here is the cold shower Mark Manson throws in Chapter 3. You're not special, and that's a good thing. The entitlement trap. See, believing you're special can lead to two toxic extremes. On one hand, you feel entitled, you think the world owes you something just for existing. On the other hand, you think your problems are uniquely horrible, like no one has ever suffered like you. Both are illusions, and both keep you stuck when you believe you're extraordinary. Failure feels like a personal attack. Every setback becomes unbearable because it shouldn't happen to someone like me. But when you embrace that you're ordinary, suddenly, failure becomes normal, part of the process. You're not cursed, you're just human. The power of being ordinary. Here's the liberating twist. If you're not special, you don't have to live up to impossible expectations. You don't have to be the richest, smartest, happiest person alive. You just have to live well within your own reality. The freedom of being ordinary means you can finally focus on what truly matters, instead of constantly proving your worth. But if being ordinary is freeing, it still leaves us with one big question. How do we actually give meaning to our struggles? That's what Chapter 4 uncovers: the true value of suffering. Chapter 4. The value of suffering. We all suffer. That's non-negotiable. But here's the secret. Not all suffering is equal. Some suffering destroys us, while other suffering transforms us. The difference lies in what we choose to suffer for. The illusion of easy happiness. Most people think the goal is to avoid pain, to earn enough money so life is easy, to find relationships with no conflict, to chase comfort at every turn. But Mark Manson says, comfort is overrated. It makes you weak, restless, and unfulfilled. Real happiness comes from choosing meaningful struggles, choosing your suffering. Think of an athlete. They suffer through grueling workouts, injuries, and strict diets, but they do it because the struggle itself gives them meaning. Or take parents. They endure sleepless nights, financial stress, and endless responsibilities, but they endure it because raising a child makes the suffering worth it. The lesson. You can't avoid suffering, but you can choose which suffering is worth your life energy. And when you choose it consciously, suffering transforms into growth. The big reframe. Here's the punchline. Instead of asking, how can I avoid pain? Ask, what am I willing to suffer for? If you choose to suffer for shallow goals, status, likes, money, you'll feel empty. But if you suffer for love, creativity, purpose, you'll find meaning. So the question becomes, how do we make those choices? In Chapter 5, Mark Manson reveals a hard truth: whether you realize it or not, you are always choosing. And those choices define everything about your life. Chapter 5, you are always choosing. Here's a harsh truth: whether you admit it or not, you are always making choices every second of every day. You choose how to respond to problems, what to care about, and what story to tell yourself about your life, and even refusing to. Choose is a choice, the story of responsibility. Imagine this: your partner cheats on you. Painful, right? But here's the thing: you didn't cause it, but you still have to choose how to respond. Will you play the eternal victim? Or will you take responsibility for your reaction, learn, and grow stronger? That's the difference between control and chaos. Responsibility doesn't mean fault, it means owning your response. Mark Manson says, you can't control what happens, but you can always control how you interpret and respond. That's where your power is. Why choices define our identity. Every decision you make becomes a vote for the kind of person you are. Choose to avoid discomfort. You become weaker. Choose to face it. You become resilient. Even small choices, what to give your time to, what to stress over, stack up to shape your destiny. The scary part is that most people live on autopilot, not realizing that their non-choices are still choices that slowly carve their reality. But here's the kicker: what if the choices you're making are built on lies? What if the things you believe to be absolutely true are dead wrong? That's what Chapter 6 smashes wide open. Chapter 6, you're wrong about everything, but so am I. One of the most uncomfortable truths Manson shares is this: you're wrong, I'm wrong, we're all wrong. About ourselves, about the world, about what we think makes us happy. At best, we're just less wrong than we were yesterday. The problem with certainty: think back to something you believed as a teenager, maybe that popularity mattered, or that a certain job would make you happy. Now, looking back, you realize you were completely wrong. Well, guess what? 10 years from now, you'll look back at today and laugh at how wrong you were again. Certainty is a trap. The more certain you are, the more blind you become. Growth equals being wrong over and over. Manson argues that the path to growth is not about clinging to being right, but about constantly updating your beliefs. Progress is built on trial, error, correction. Every new truth replaces an old lie. Every breakthrough requires admitting you didn't know as much as you thought. The paradox: the more you accept your own wrongness, the closer you get to real wisdom. That's why humility isn't weakness, it's strength. The courage to be wrong. So here's the challenge: instead of saying, I'm right, I know the way, try saying, I could be wrong, what can I learn here? That shift transforms arguments into lessons, failures into stepping stones, and uncertainty into opportunity. The bravest people aren't the ones who know it all, they're the ones willing to admit they don't. But even if we accept that we're wrong, how do we keep moving forward? What do we do when failure keeps punching us in the face? That's exactly what Chapter 7 is about: why failure isn't the end. It's the only way forward. Chapter 7, failure is the way forward. Most people see failure as the end, a dead stop, something to avoid at all costs. But Mark Manson flips this idea on its head. Failure is not the opposite of success, it's the path to it. The feedback loop from hell. Here is the trap most of us fall into. We wait until we're ready. Before we take action, we wait until we're confident before we start. But Manson says that's backward. Action creates confidence, not the other way around. Failure gives us feedback, and feedback builds improvement. Think of learning a language. You'll never speak fluently by waiting until you're perfect. You stumble, make mistakes, sound ridiculous, and that's how you learn. Every failure is a stepping stone forward. Edison's 10,000 failures. Take Thomas Edison. He didn't invent the light bulb by being a genius overnight. He ran over 10,000 failed experiments. He didn't see them as failures, he saw them as data. Each mistake showed him one more way that didn't work. Without those 10,000 failures, there'd be no success. The courage to act anyway. Most of us are paralyzed by fear of looking stupid, so we never try. But here's the paradox. The more you avoid failure, the more you fail by default, because inaction guarantees mediocrity. The only way forward is to fail fast, fail often, and learn quicker than the rest. But even if failure is the way forward, we still face another trap, trying to please everyone, saying yes to everything, giving our energy to everyone. Chapter 8 is about the art of saying no and why it might be the most powerful decision you will ever make. Chapter 8, the importance of saying no. Most of us are drowning in commitments. We say yes to extra work, yes to draining friendships, yes to things we don't even care about just to avoid conflict. But here's the truth. Every yes is also a no. When you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to everything else you could be done with that time and energy. The power of boundaries. Manson argues that real freedom comes from boundaries. If you don't decide what you stand for, other people will decide for you. Saying no might feel uncomfortable in the moment, but it saves you years of wasted energy. Every great relationship, every fulfilling career is built on knowing what you won't tolerate. Love equals boundaries. Think about relationships. People often think love means accepting everything, but actually love grows stronger when you have clear boundaries. Saying no to toxic behavior, no to disrespect, no to things that erode trust. That's what makes space for real intimacy. Without no's, your yes has no value. Freedom through rejection. Here's the kicker. Rejection isn't cruel, it's clarity. By saying no to what doesn't align, you're saying yes to what truly matters. Your career, your happiness, your peace of mind, they all depend on your ability to reject the distractions and focus on the essentials. But even when we learn to say no, one truth still hangs over us all. Life doesn't last forever. And chapter 9 is the hardest pill of all. One day you're going to die, and that truth changes everything. Chapter 9. And then you die. Here's the ultimate truth Mark Manson hits you with. You're going to die, and sooner than you think. Harsh, yes, but also incredibly freeing. Because once you accept your mortality, the trivial problems, the fake expectations, the petty fights, they all shrink in importance. Death as a motivator. Most people live like they have forever, waiting for the right moment to start living, to chase dreams, to tell someone they love them. But the reality is, life is short and it's unpredictable. Recognizing this forces clarity. What truly matters? What can you spend your limited FCS on that actually counts? Manson writes, awareness of death is the ultimate tool to prioritize values. You will stop chasing meaningless things and focus on the problems and goals that give your life meaning. The circle of life. Death also reminds us of responsibility. Since your time is limited, you can't afford to waste it blaming others, avoiding responsibility, or living someone else's script. You have to choose consciously, care selectively, and embrace your struggles, because those struggles define your legacy. When you internalize mortality, every decision, every yes, every no becomes sharper, clearer, more intentional. The freedom of acceptance. Here's the paradox. The more you accept that life is short and messy, the less you fear loss, failure, or criticism. You stop needing everyone to approve of you. You stop chasing things that don't matter. And suddenly, you feel free. Conclusion. The subtle art of not giving a FCK. So what's the big takeaway? Life is limited. Your energy is limited. Your FCS are limited. Don't waste them on trivial problems, fake expectations, or endless comparisons. Instead, choose carefully what to care about, embrace your struggles, accept failure, and live a life grounded in honesty, responsibility, and meaning. Mark Manson's book isn't about being cold, careless, or reckless. It's about being selective, brave, and truthful. Because in the end, the measure of a good life isn't how much you accumulated or how many people liked you, it is how wisely you spent your energy and feces. So here is my question for you. What are you going to give your feces to today? Comment below with one thing you'll start caring about and one thing you'll stop wasting energy on. And if you want more eye-opening book summaries like this, hit subscribe because we're just getting started.